On today's episode, we are looking at the finances of a 39-year-old lady. She is a senior in banking and is married with 3 kids. She says despite having a healthy amount of money in savings and investments, she has money anxiety and struggles to spend money on herself to a point that she does not even have panties. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Itumeleng. I'm a qualified management accountant, and on this channel, I help ordinary people like you learn how to start saving money, get out of debt, invest, and ultimately build wealth. If that is something you're interested in, please do subscribe and become a part of our growing rich family. Now let us see the finances of our sister. She consulted alone without her husband, so we are just going to look at her side of the finances. Her net salary as a senior in banking monthly is 79,400 rands, and she has some extra income that generates 5,000 rands every single month. In total, her monthly income is 84,400 rands. Okay, we know she does not have an income problem, and she also says she has a nice amount of money in savings and investments. Her problem is she does not know how to spend money. So this is a good amount of money, and despite having also such a high salary, our sister also has a side hustle, and that really helps boost her income. Not that her income needs boosting, but can never have enough money. Now let us look at her savings and investments as well as debt balances. I'm going to start with her savings and investments. Discretionary ETFs, 1,168,000. TFSA for her, 466,668 rands. Child 1 TFSA, 420,000 rands. Child 2 TFSA, also 420,000 rands. Child 3 TFSA, 136,000 rands. Retirement annuity, 592,706 rands. Emergency fund, 32,849 rands. Car maintenance fund, 29,000. December fund, 3,000. Holiday fund for the family, 5,500 rands. Holiday fund for the Europe trip with friends, 21,000 rands. Kids clothing, 3,000 rands. Buffer, 1,000 rands. Home goods fund, 3,000 rands. That was a lot, right? That was the most I've ever had to read out for savings and investments. In total, her savings and investments are 3,301,723 rands. So in short, her savings and investments are sitting at a balance of 3.3 million. And she says, I have a healthy sum of money. This is not just healthy, this is big. It's a lot. And sure, there are little areas like the emergency fund is not enough. It could be increased, but she also has a bunch of sinking funds for a lot of things. She has a car maintenance fund. She has a December fund. So for a lot of those sinking funds, she's not going to tap into the emergency fund. So a solid amount of money and also a pretty good allocation, right? Those TFSAs are doing really well. She has a nice amount of money in discretionary ETFs as well. What seems to be the problem? She said, first of all, my problem is I don't have an education fund for the kids. And I've heard you say that TFSAs for kids are not education funds. For me, I was going to use the TFSAs as education funds. So after you said that, I realized I have a new problem, and I knew it. I knew there was no way I could get it right. I knew there was something I missed. We can get started on the education funds for the kids. It's fine, and we'll be able to catch up with the amount of money that we have, and also looking at how far we've been able to come. A lot of things can be paused or reduced, and then we build an education fund. It's not a big deal, especially because you are now aware that TFSAs are not ideal for education funds. You can still use it as an education fund if you want, but preferably not. I wouldn't advise it. I think I've already gotten into it on why it's not advisable to use a TFSA for an education fund. Some people like to argue otherwise, but our sister is like, nope, I want an education fund as well, and I am stressed. I need to get the education fund. I said, okay, fine, we will get an education fund then what else? What else is stressing you? You will also grow the emergency fund. Everything else will continue to grow. You'll continue to make contributions to the TFSAs, to all your investments. Then what is eating you? She says, okay, other than the education fund, I have to be honest, I have money anxiety. I have all this money, but I don't recognize it. I don't realize it. It's not clicking to me. I don't see that it's a lot of money, because despite having all this money, I've been unable to buy myself panties. Okay? Panties is what is stressing her. She says she struggles with spending money because she watched her parents make a lot of money and quickly lose all of it. So she's afraid that if she spends money on herself, even on small things like panties, yeah, the panties are really going to be a thing. I'm sorry, but this is what Madam came to me with, the panties. Excuse me. So she says the panties are a problem, and she's unable to spend money on even little things like that, because she's afraid if she starts spending money, then she might just lose it, just like her parents. And she's in therapy. She was showing me lots of personality types, and she was telling me what personality type she is, what personality type I am even. She's someone that is self-aware. She's someone that knows exactly the root of her trauma. But the problem is she doesn't know how to start working on solving it. And I think it's pretty simple. She just needs to spend some money, huh? She said, yes, I really need to, because honestly, the panties thing is a big thing. All my panties are torn and I look really put together outside, but inside I'm falling apart. And that is when she started getting emotional and she started crying. Yes, it's a real concern. I know some of you might think, oh, that's some nice life problems. She's crying and she has 3.3 million, but money anxiety is a real thing. Despite having all this money, she cannot bring herself to start spending it. So I gave her an assignment. She's going to start with the panties because they are the elephant in the room. I said, after buying the panties, go to a nice restaurant, pick a nice seat, order whatever you like. You can spend the whole day there, from starter to dessert and everything in between. Order whatever you want without worrying about the price, and just tap and go without you don't even have to look at how much it costs. Okay, you might have to, when you leave a big tip, also leave a big tip and then tap and go. She said, yo, I've never done that. Yeah, I understand. That sounds scary because you've never spent money. For her, spending money is reckless. For her, if she just starts spending money on dinner, on panties, I'm sorry to bring up the panties again, she's going to be broke. One dinner is going to take away her 3.3 million wealth. So going forward, to make sure that she continues to learn how to spend money, after reaching an investment target, currently she's at 3.3 million. Once it's 3.5 million or whatever target she sets, not too much, not too far away. Every 3 months after reaching your investment goals, buy panties. The amount of panties she's going to have, huh? Buy panties, go to a restaurant, buy whatever you want, because at the end of the day, all these investments, all these things that we are doing is so that a girl can have some panties. I'm going to stop talking about the panties, but yeah, I'm going to also check on her to make sure that she's spending some money. I cannot believe we are at a point where we have to check on someone to make sure that she buys something. I'm not going to say the thing, that she buys something and not the usual that we see of don't buy anything. So I hope you can see that there's really just two sides to this thing. You need to find a healthy balance. You cannot be too reckless, blow all your money, but at the same time, you cannot have 3.3 million and not know how to buy panties. And like she said, she saw her parents have a lot of money and quickly blow it. So now what she's trying to do is she thinks that she's balancing it out. She's correcting her parents wrong. But even what she's doing is wrong. Her parents were wrong to blow all their money without saving some, investing some. And she's wrong to just save and invest every single rand. And I said to her, who knows what your kids are going to do after watching you do this? Your kids might also just look at you and think, that woman had millions and she still struggled. What do? They start treating money the way your parents did. They blow all of it because they think they are healing your wounds. They think that it's payback for their mother. So you need to have a healthy balance. You can continue to save and invest, but have those moments where you can spoil yourself, where you can spend without feeling guilty. All right. And now her debt is 000. Usually it's the other way around, right? So you can see the stunning investment balance that she has, and the debt of 0 just supports that. That is why I fight so much with you guys to get out of debt, stay out of debt, play far away from debt, because when your debt is 0, that can only mean that your savings and investments can grow. Not just savings and investments, a little ice cream here and there, panties on the side. Let us look at her monthly expenses. She says her husband takes care of most of their expenses, their bond, the school fees for all the kids, which are really expensive, and he has paid off her car. So that is also how she was able to get so far with the savings and investments for her household, because her husband covers a big chunk of the expenses. And this just shows how far you can go when you go together. So for all the couples, the partners out there, this is your sign. Start working together. Let one person take care of most of the expenses or just all the expenses. The other income can go towards savings and investments. It's a nice cheat code that I like. So our sister does have some expenses, and these are her expenses. She has Liberty, this is funeral cover as well as income protection, 2,800 rands. Outsurance for her car insurance is 3,000 rands. Tracker 139, kids swimming 1,420 rands. Petrol 2,500 rands. Helper 5,200 rands. Levies 2,863 rands. Groceries 9,000 rands. A bit high of the groceries, right? But when you have 3 million in savings and investments, you can eat oxtail on the rocks every day. Rates 3,600 rands, electricity 1,800 rands, bank charges 120 rands. You guys see that, right? She works in banking, and despite her high income, her bank charges are really low. So those are some really nice perks. Church 1,000 rands, home 3,000 rands, her allowance 3,000 rands. She says this allowance she barely uses, because if she did use it, she would have some panties. But going forward, let's just start by using the 3,000 rands, and going forward, increase it, make it 5,000, you really can. Kids allowance 600 rands, tutor 1,000 rands, aftercare 420 rands, child 3 soccer 1,000 rands, and then TFSAs for her and her 3 kids 3,833 rands. That is so that she can max out all the TFSAs for an amount of 46,000 rands by the end of the tax year. Discretionary ETFs 8,000 rands. That was interesting for me, that she makes 3,800 contributions towards the TFSAs, and she continues to put 8,000 into the discretionary ETFs before the TFSAs are maxed out. What I would personally do is make sure that TFSAs are maxed out before I start investing in the discretionary ETFs. However, that is not to say that her TFSA strategy of contributing 3,800 rand a month is wrong. It's also a strategy, and at the end of the year, all the TFSAs are going to be maxed out. Let me know, what is your TFSA strategy? Do you max out your TFSA as soon as you can, or do you make monthly payments and eventually just max it out by the end of the tax year? Historic results show that it's better to max out your TFSA at the beginning of the tax year, because that in the past has shown to yield more returns. However, we are in tough seasons this year because of the war and everything. Maxing out your TFSA early might not just do what it used to do in the past. So for our sister here, her strategy might work for her in terms of returns, because it's going to help balance her average purchase price. Some months she's going to be able to buy the dip, some months she's going to buy the ETFs at really high prices. But nevertheless, the TFSAs are there, as well as the discretionary ETFs. Car service saving 1,000 rands, emergency fund saving 1,500 rands. What we agreed on is that she's going to post the car service saving just for now because she already has 29,000 there and her car service does not even cost that much. So for now, she'll be able to take the 1,000 rands as well as the 1,500 rands and continue to grow her emergency fund because she abandoned it a little bit. And that's because emergency funds generally don't yield a lot of interest compared to the stock market. So that is why she was chasing the ETFs and the stocks, but we are going to grow the emergency fund either way because it is important in case of big emergencies. You don't want to sell your SA top 40 so that you can cover your emergency. The emergency fund can just do that. And then she has had December saving 1,500 rands. We have the Europe trip with the girls, 5,000 rands. And she says she hopes it does not leave the group chat so she can take the money and buy ETFs. You see, she has started. And then she has a buffer fund, 1,000 rands. She says this is for small things in the house. So just other things that come up that she does not necessarily consider emergencies. And she has kids clothing fund that is 500 rands. In total, her monthly expenses are 77,857 rands. So as you can see, she's still left with a surplus of around 6,000 rands after paying for all her part and after making all the savings and investments. So we are going to tell that 6,000 rands where to go, and we can split it between the emergency fund and the panties. So I'm joking, she'll be able to see how she allocates that, but the panties must be, included in that. You can push one TFSA, you can just grow the emergency fund. And yes, a little bit of the panties, man, and that lunch. So these are the finances of our sister. I know a lot of you really wanted to get into it. Those of you that saw her screenshot on Instagram, if you do not see it, it's not my fault. Why are you not following me? Please follow me on Instagram. I show some teasers before they drop on YouTube. So I hope you found value in this episode. I hope you learned something from our sister, because sometimes some of you wonder, what is all this for? This thing of paying off debt, this thing of cutting back expenses, this thing of not buying the iPhone on credit. What is it all for? I hope our sister has shown you that if you do that, if you follow those steps, you get out of debt and you live below your means, you can also be able to build a portfolio you can be proud of. And when you get there, when you make your first million, your second million, your third million, for goodness sake, buy some panties. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, have a rich day.